more fun to witness.
Well, in truth, there's been a big adventure in the chessboard, and no matter what kind of positions, whether they be Catalans or closed Sicilians, suddenly, the dams are bursting, and there's a lot of fun at the end.
That's right,
Great
regardless
battles.
of the opening. And here we have double
fianchetto,
fianchetto, which was mentioned earlier as one of the good openings to play in Blitz.
By Hikaru Nakamura. A favorite of his is to start, actually, with the move b2, b3. And he's been playing a lot in those chess.com challenge matches that he's had.
I think the way he put it is b3 is a better move than e4 in Blitz.
Because the players are so well prepared in their defenses to e2, e4. Well, this is an interesting early queen a5 check. Enticing the bishop to c3. Why the bishop on c3 is bad, I'm not sure. Knight d2. And out of the opening, Magnus is doing just fine. And e5. Wow. I'm seeing a lot of check Benoni type of positions occurring in this match. I hadn't expected that. I'd expected adventures, but not the check Benoni.
But how do you think White's going to respond? Magnus actually sinking into a little bit of a think in a Blitz game. Is he going to play d5 or is he going to take an e5?
Well, he would play d5 automatically, except he's just giving the idea of e4, e3 a double check to make sure that that doesn't come with force.
That looks like what you would do as black. Just
right.
Automatic.
And he's played d5, and he said, okay, I can handle e4, e3. Now, if I was black, I'd seize that opportunity to play e4,
he did
e3.
Because he's also seizing an advantage on the clock. That's always important in these games.
And he played bishop f5 instantly.
But
Bishop
wait
f6,
a minute,
bishop
that's
f6.
an automatic exchange sacrifice, isn't it?
I mean, you don't even blink.
That's right.
My rook, queen takes.
And he did take the rook, but now the
F6
dark
is being
squares
tickled.
are undefended.
Right.
So he took on e4
Knight
once.
takes e4, knight d7.
Knight d7, covering up the
Nicely
dark
done.
squares. And what about bishop h3? I guess you could just play a f5.
I'm thinking f4 to get f5 in.
Bring that rook into the deck.
Yeah, and that way the knight on e4. The only way you're going to get rid of this knight is to play the move f5. But f5 at this moment allows knight to g5 to e6, and that's even worse. The cure is worse than the disease. In this moment, f4, f5 is on White's agenda. As you were saying, Jennifer, get that rook on f1 into the attack.
It's really slow, but I'd really like to bring my queen over to g7 in this position.
And he has played rook e7.
Rook e7. He can drop the queen back next move, or maybe he's planning
rooks.
just to play rook e8 and put the
just gonna
question to
double
the knight
rooks.
on e4.
I'm expecting f5 or he's played
G4
g4.
played.
Now he needs to put his knight. He needs to
knight
make a square for his
G3 is the
knight.
idea.
That was necessary because he's planning the doubling of the rooks was coming anyway, so he
Knight
wasn't worried about anything.
And b5, well, that
B5.
demonstration really doesn't address the issue. It's the center that's happening here.
Well, maybe
B
he's
takes-
trying to get his queen into the game on the b file.
But what is White doing? White can't play e5. White has to play for what? What are the
And
next
he
several
has
moves
played
for
queen
White?
a5. He's trying to enter with the queen, which is going to be the first active piece in the game for Ding Liren, but it's going to be a really good piece because it's going to be threatening queen d4 check stuff in some lines.
There's
Well, but
that
Maurice has
Penrose
gotten-
Tal sacrifice crazy e5
e5 takes f5
and then
knight
play
e4,
f5. That's a theme here.
Queen
He just played
c1 by
queen
Magnus.
c1. and
f5, queen h6 could come.
No, I think he's e5 f5.
I think he's looking at the to e5 f5.
Right, but the
Benoni.
queen's coming into the game in that line.
He's offering his a2 pawn, which Ding
Knight
says,
f6.
no, I'm not interested in the
96
a2
really
pawn.
just begs me to play
Yeah,
e5
but now
f5.
this line, yeah, exactly. Now this line seems more powerful, doesn't
But
it?
alert, g4 is hanging. Am I the only one who likes pawns?
G4.
Yes, you are.
But
And there goes e5 because
E5.
Magnus doesn't like them either. The pawns are racing. The pawns are racing down the board. Now, I'm not sure if this was the best move because the
He's
g-pawn...
taken
and
it.
he's taken once on e5.
So
and
if
he
we cap,
plays, and
no,
there is
he's
that
played-
famous sacrifice that happened in Penrose tile back in the 1950s, I believe, or maybe it was the
F5,
1960s.
and now note that rook and F1 is coming into action. F takes G6 is a threat.
Right.
And he's taking on G4,
G4,
which is going to allow this move, queen, to G4,
G5.
G5. And now the knight's hanging. F6 is coming next. That knight has to die.
How do you defend
has to
that
just be
knight?
sacrificed. I don't know what.
H5 knight
He's
takes-
played E4. He's ignored his knight.
Wow.
He's going for his own counterplay. But is this
The
going to be enough? It
queen,
looks
no.
like he's going to. It looks like he's going to lose.
Yeah. Queen takes G4, picking off the knight. By the way, you still got those mating ideas of
Yes.
F6 and give me the dark squares.
And critically, knight takes on E2 is always in the position for white.
When he
if
needs
that
to
pawn
counter
gets too
sacrifice.
rambunctious, we're just going to kill it.
Yep.
So now Magnus just has to be a little bit careful against this pawn getting to E1.
By the way, I think he's contemplating D5, D6.
Which he's done.
Because then he's anticipating that once the rook moves, the bishop on G2 is eyeballing the D5 square.
Rook to E5. has
Very
been played.
nice move by the world champion. D6. Now there's also D7
Now
to
he
be
took the
considered.
knight.
He's
And
taken the knight.
The only possible move is E3. I
Well,
don't know if it works.
E3
But what
bishop.
else are you going to play?
I'm going to take on G6 and play bishop D5, Maurice.
That's a good
That's brutal.
reason for me to cry.
I think queen takes C4.
Queen to
Queen, pardon me.
C3
Queen to
was
C3.
played, but this looks like
Well, you can
I
beat
got everything.
D7 with queen D4 check. But this sure does, just has the feel that it should be winning for white. Magnus needs to display some
Magnus
accurate
can't win.
moves.
He can't win the E
So he's
pawn.
taking on G6 first. Now
Can he
D7
win
is
the E-pawn
possible.
Right.
This one and H takes. He
But now
can't
he's
play
got
something like
D7 and
E4.
knight takes E4.
You sure this check on?
Check on D4 is disruptive, but
And
D7,
he's played D7, rook D8
and now
plays.
knight
it.
takes
And
E4,
knight takes
and
E4.
that's the clincher. That's the clincher, guys, because he's got knight F6 check on tap.
Okay, queen E3 or queen D4 is queen D4 allows his queen to be hanging in the long variation, but here
It's queen D4 check and king G7, hoping against hope.
king
He
G7.
has
And that's
played
what
it.
happened.
But now we've got queen F3.
Magnus with only
queen
1 minute and 11
F4.
seconds, by the way,
Queen.
and his time is counting down. And
He's
knight
played
went to
knight
F6.
That was a
twist
surprising
into
move.
the end game. What is the
Okay,
play
you
here?
got to
Rook
trade
F5.
queens.
The
You
rook
gotta trade
F5 is playable, no?
rook F5
And then trade
immediately.
queens.
I was thinking to trade
Trade
queens
queens
and
first.
then play rook F5.
Isn't it?
But
Okay, so it's a similar.
Then I've got rook D1 though. When you have the two pieces and rooks, usually when you have the two pieces, you want to keep the extra rook on the board. So rook F5, don't trade rooks, play rook D1, and then reroute. That's a big fact.
And
But
Ding
if I
Liren
play
has
rook
lost his
F5,
time advantage.
If I play rook F5 first, wouldn't it have forced you to trade rooks? At least I thought it would. But now he's played rook to G5, chasing this knight around. The knight went back into F6, and now rook F5 is on the board, the position we were talking about. But Magnus has found a way to save his pawn. Whoa,
bishop
look what he
C6
did.
check.
I didn't see this maneuver at all. He managed to play bishop to C6 and create a perfect unit. And now it's a question of how does Ding get any counterplay, as this knight now is going to hop all over the position when
forget
you
about
try
the
to get
H5
active.
pawn.
Beautiful move, knight to
D6.
Knight E8 check followed by bishop C6.
Right.
that maneuver. Yeah, I completely overlooked that, and
But
that's
knight
killer.
D6 is a great blow because now you're set up for knight B7, knight F7.
This is a whole piece. This game is over.
Yeah, and
Knight
Rook-
B7,
the
knight
rook-
B7 is coming on the next move. He has
the
to resign.
rook
And there it
has-
is.